What if I told you that something as simple as breathing could unlock parts of yourself you never knew existed? Stay with me, because what happened next was nothing short of life-changing. Last week, I had the chance to try guided breathwork for the first time. At first, I was skeptical, but I kept an open mind and gave it a shot. Looking back, I'm incredibly grateful I did, because it was one of the most impactful experiences of my life. To set the scene, I arrived at the session with a friend. I opened it and wrote about wanting to reflect on the emotional barriers I tend to build around myself. That day, it felt like the biggest obstacle in my life. I saw the session as an opportunity to break free from the habit of settling into a comfort zone and resisting change. Too often, we accept the status quo and stop seeking personal growth. After writing down my thoughts, I closed the notebook, lay back on a cozy blanket, and listened as the music started playing. We began a specific breathing pattern: in, out, in, out. The instructor guided us through the process, prompting us to reconnect with our younger selves. That's when things got interesting. My thoughts felt like a surreal mix of dreaming and hallucination, all induced solely by breathing. At one point, the instructor spoke about letting go and said, "We aren't meant to suffer or hold on to suffering." That struck a deep chord with me. I realized how often I had justified ongoing suffering in my life. Many of us do this, convincing ourselves that difficult circumstances are just the way things are. We accept negative situations, unhealthy relationships, or unfulfilling routines simply because they feel familiar. As I continued breathing, a vivid image formed in my mind. I was descending a ladder into a deep canyon, its walls dark and colorless. At first, everything was black and white, but as I climbed down, faint rays of light appeared at the bottom. With each step, the colors grew brighter, until finally, I reached the ground. Suddenly, the scene transformed. Fields of sunflowers, waterfalls, birds chirping, and the sun shining overhead. At that moment, I understood that my initial intention for the session had missed something fundamental. It wasn't just about breaking down emotional walls, it was about embracing self-love. True self-love goes beyond mere acceptance. It means cherishing yourself, flaws, struggles, past mistakes, and all. When you genuinely love yourself, the opinions of others no longer dictate your choices. Those external judgments belong in the grayscale world left behind at the canyon's edge. When you love yourself, you no longer tolerate unnecessary suffering or allow learned helplessness to define your life. Loving yourself means seeking authenticity and aligning with what truly matters. It means stepping beyond fear, breaking free from old patterns, and realizing that you don't need to be confined by the walls you once built. I've always talked about pushing through fear, stepping outside my comfort zone, and finding ways to move forward. But none of that truly matters unless you learn to love the person staring back at you in the mirror. Think about the gift you could give to your younger self. Think about the positive impact you could have on your loved ones. Imagine how different the world could be if you left behind those black and white limitations and lived a life true to yourself. It won't always be easy, but I now know that self-love is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Before we focus on changing the world around us, maybe we should start by embracing the world within us. Maybe we should learn to love ourselves so completely that we no longer build walls to protect ourselves, because we won't feel the need to. In a world that can seem dull and limited, it is self-acceptance, trust, confidence, and love that bring color and vibrance. The idea of missed opportunities has always fascinated me. We often think about the sacrifices we make in pursuit of progress, what we gain from effort and perseverance. But what about the cost of inaction? The opportunities we let slip away without realizing their true value. It's not just about the things we choose to do. It's about the things we choose not to do. I once heard a speaker discuss the concept of opportunity cost in a way that stuck with me. He spoke about a friend who watched a lot of television. When asked how much the TV cost, the friend responded with the price he paid for it. But the speaker challenged him to think differently. The real cost wasn't the price of the television, but the time spent in front of it. Time that could have been invested in learning, growing, or pursuing a dream. It made me wonder how often we underestimate the value of our time. What is the cost of spending hours on distractions instead of working towards something meaningful? When those lost hours add up over weeks, months, and years, the impact becomes staggering. It's easy to overlook the consequences of inaction because they aren't immediately visible, but they are just as real as any other decision we make. I'm not suggesting that we should never relax or enjoy life's simple pleasures. Some of the best moments come from unplanned experiences. But there's a difference between intentional rest and unconscious avoidance. When we become more aware of how we use our time, we can be more deliberate in shaping our lives. Every moment we spend in hesitation or doubt is a moment we could have used to move forward. The fear of change can be overwhelming, but staying in the same place often carries a greater cost. The stories we tell ourselves, the reasons we give for not taking action, can become barriers to our growth. But what if we stopped waiting for the perfect moment? What if we simply took the first step, trusting that the path would reveal itself along the way? Moving forward is rarely comfortable. It often feels like leaving behind the familiar, stepping into uncertainty, and facing resistance from within. But the greatest transformations happen when we push beyond our perceived limits. We must be willing to let go of the past and embrace the unknown, even when it feels daunting. Life is a journey of continuous reinvention. The person we were yesterday does not have to define who we are today. Every experience, every challenge, every lesson learned contributes to the person we are becoming. The beauty of this process lies in its unpredictability, in the realization that we are not bound by our past, but empowered by our ability to change. So, if you've been waiting for a sign, consider this it. If you've been holding back, leap. The world is full of possibilities waiting to be discovered. The first step is simply believing that you are capable of the journey ahead. And once you take that step, you'll find that the path was always there, waiting for you to walk it. In the days following my breathwork session, I reflected even further. What if we applied this practice regularly? What if we used breathwork to reconnect with ourselves whenever we felt lost? What if each inhale was a reminder that we are alive, capable, and worthy of the dreams we hold within us? These are questions I now carry with me, and perhaps they are questions worth considering for all of us.